That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, the sound sounds so much better today.
Well, I hope it will on the recording as well. These headphones, I've got to get some like yours, I think. They ruin my hair and they don't sound right. But anyway, enough of our worldly woes. This is the Inspiracy Theory Show. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And welcome back to the platform. I think I've said enough.
So tell us, what do you want to bring to the table today, Mr. Munson?
Today,
I've got a few things on my mind, actually.
Not enough inspiracy, too much conspiracy, not enough inspiracy in this Inspiracy Theory Show so far.
Okay. Well, do you know what's arisen for me since we were talking yesterday?
No, tell me.
Is the whole idea of love and loss. You know, this morning we've been talking...
to the death doula.
Yeah, we've been talking to the death doula. And then immediately before we said, okay, let's go live and talk. And I was just working with one of my clients who actually is or was a death doula.
Really?
And so I've had 2 lots of death dueling today. And also we got message that one of our friends has just birthed a new divine being onto this planet.
And we lost a dear friend last week. The circles of life are very present to us, aren't they, at the moment? Or we're very present to them.
They really are. I feel really kind of close to tears today. And that just seems to be the perfect topic, really, for us to explore.
Okay, well, if I can mould that with what I began with, the conspiracy theory around death, of course, is we all know it's going to happen, and that's a conspiracy, isn't it? But let's not look at it or talk about it very much.
Yeah,
and there is definitely very much a societal. It's certainly in the dominant narrative, a conspiracy theory around death, isn't there? That not fully wanting to embrace it, not fully understanding it, but knowing that something is going to happen. As sure as eggs is eggs, and death and taxes are certainties in life. The death one is coming our way, or we're going towards it, or however you see it. But it's there. And on the less than helpful side, there's a conspiracy. And we can in Inspiracy Theory Show style, we can make it an inspiracy, which is breathe into it and lean into it and embrace it, right?
Yeah,
that's what Inspiracy is about. And I'm embarrassed to say that after 4 episodes, we've been quite conspiratorial, haven't we? But I guess there's a lot of dirty water in the pipe.
We haven't really spoken much about conspiracy, because I mean that's not the whole idea of this, is this?
But it's so easy to do, isn't it? To get into out there. The truth is out there, when in fact it's only ever in here.
Yeah.
And there are manifestations out there that create all this conspiracy theory, polarity, binary, hoo-ha world at the moment, from which we hope this 30 minutes, so far daily, is something of a respite.
It is for us, isn't it? It's
certainly.
a lovely moment.
When I think of it, I think, oh, that's nice. I'll be able to have a little bit of talk my truth and relax into it and have a fun time with you. That ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, it does for me too. And this is our moment to connect, isn't it, on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, this is it. Enjoy it.
So, the conspiracy of death. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I got to see death up close and personal. Well, not really up close and personal, but I got to experience a different death culture when I was living in Bali, Indonesia, because what I really noticed there is that the people are really in touch with all of the cycles of life. So, for instance, I mean, it was great timing that I met you after I returned from there, because I'd seen how children are revered. You know, they are part of the family and they're carried like little...
England with a... No, come on.
No,
that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Like
part
the kids,
of the family. They're definitely part of the family.
The kids are not put down, you know. When I say put down, I don't mean like euthanized. I mean, the kids are carried everywhere, aren't they?
Oh, I see. Okay. So they're held.
They are held.
And is that metaphorically? So they're not put down physically and they're not put down emotionally.
Yeah.
They are like we enjoy in Portugal. Children tend to be held up here as well, don't they?
Yeah. But even more so in Bali. So, for instance, what I noticed was like the children are like little kings and queens. They're like little princesses and princes and princesses. They're seen as such a good force of purity I mean, they are seen as being like closer to God. You know, they've just come from, you know, the other side, and there they are. And so they're seen as this symbol of purity and something that's very, very special. And so they are absolutely revered and looked after, and you know, everybody is involved in raising them. It's not just, you know, on the mum and dad, you know, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, everyone is involved in raising this little being up. So you really see what it is to be a parent, and to be part of a community there. And then similarly, you know, in terms of death and dying, people are really involved in the process, you know. One thing I noticed was, you know, once a month I would notice that all the women would be sat together chopping up vegetables and seeds and all sorts of different things, and using like a pestle and mortar, what are they called?
Pestle and mortar.
Pestle and mortar to make sambal and different
Not a pessary.
no,
and mortar.
they're you know, they were using things to make stuff for these celebrations. And I was asking, you know, the people that I was living with, who were, you know, absolute Balinese people, you know, I was living on their compound with them, and they said, oh yeah, we're getting ready for the celebrations. Oh, what celebrations are they? Well, we're celebrating our dead. And so, you know,
Is that Nyepi, they call it?
oh no, that's another
Oh, is it?
celebration.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but well remembered.
Oh, they have a Day of the Dead, like in
Well, no,
Mexican culture.
well, I'm sure they do, but I don't know if it's new moon or full moon, there was some kind of celebration of all the people that have passed in the last month from their community. And so they were building these great big floats and effigies and totems out of bamboo. And everyone takes the day off work and they parade through town and they absolutely celebrate the lives of these people who are no longer there. And so what really occurred to me was, you know, people really see suffering, they really see death and dying, they really see pain, they really see birthing, and they're involved in the process. And then when I came back to the UK, I met you straight away, or pretty much. And then, you know, I got to see your dad slowly coming out of himself, you know, in
Dying,
hospital.
basically.
Yeah, dying.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
He was in hospital the first time that I met him. And then, you know, he went into a nursing home. In fact, I never saw him at home. I only saw him in the process of dying.
Yeah.
And
It's funny, isn't it? You what you knew as his home was just an empty shell where he used to be.
yeah,
And
I never
his
even saw him in it.
artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we were really, you know, we weren't really there to care for him in the way that a Balinese family might, you know.
Well,
And
no.
I understand that you may well have wanted to look after him.
I
And
tried.
yeah,
I really did. I moved in with him to attempt that, and it was very, very difficult.
yeah,
And yeah, you know, I'm okay about it. I did the best I could for him, which is pretty much all we can do, right?
yeah,
But ideally, yes, I have a yearning, or would it be a sort of a post yearning, or ideally, it would be great, wouldn't it, to live in a communal way in the way you described, so that
yeah,
the comings and goings of life are there, not excluded, not done in
yeah,
hospital or away somewhere else. And that's what we've done, I think.
mm,
It's been ingenious, isn't it? The dominant culture
yeah,
in sanitizing and denaturing life for good reasons, obviously, to avoid pain and
yeah,
suffering and to make things clean and all those sorts of things on the one hand. But we've lost touch as a result, haven't
yeah.
we? It would appear.
Yes, I mean, that's the point I was making. Really, you know, you can't hold yourself responsible in any way when we are in this culture where you're doing death on your own. You know, like looking at your father's death from the perspective of not being part of a community. Like in Bali, you'd have all the cousins, aunts, uncles, grandchildren. Everyone would be involved.
Now, interestingly, the idea of that fills me with dread. With the actual family
Yeah.
my father came from,
Mm.
he was estranged from them and held them in some sort of strange contempt often. And that, it takes practice, and it needs to be your dominant culture, doesn't it, to have. Oh, hold on.
Oh, what a nice moment just to feel in.
Stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, you, what are you doing? Come back into your body. I like this.
I like
I
that
like
as
this a
well.
lot. Should we
Yeah.
introduce it into the house?
Yeah, we should just have it go off every 10 minutes.
But you know, it becomes mechanical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because with a church bell, I mean, maybe that's what church bells will help people with, is to come
Mm.
back into their body in the moment. But no, the church bell is like, shit, is that the time already?
God, I've got to clear
Yeah,
off
I'm
and
late.
do my next
I'm
thing.
like, how many dongs is that? 6? Oh, I only thought it was 3 o'clock. And then there you go.
I'm late.
There's the industrialization.
Yeah.
Yeah. But conspiracy, you know, conspiracy is what we're talking about. That's all that's wrong. And we know it with our dominant culture.
Mm.
Inspiracy is doing something about it. And
Yeah.
I believe we are. I believe we are. I
Mm.
don't think you can just suddenly invite all your relatives who you've been estranged from for the last 2 generations to suddenly live in the same house as you. That could be pretty awkward, wouldn't it? I mean, and this is why people create intentional communities as well, isn't it? Very rapidly. These
Mm.
things can't be done quickly.
No.
These are directions of travel rather than, I think, sudden creations.
Well, look how long it's taken us all to fall apart.
Who? What?
You know, like not society necessarily, but the family structure.
Yeah.
You know,
And not
family
all
sizes.
families have fallen apart, have they?
No,
But generally,
no. Like, but a lot of them.
the
have
trend
got
is
smaller,
unsupportive, isn't
yeah.
it? I think it's natural for people to want to organize themselves in family groups, but the conditions have become increasingly impossible to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that you or most families need 2 to 3 wages to be able to support the whole family system.
That's right. There might be 1 or 2 people in the family, but they actually need 6 or 7 wages coming in.
Yeah.
These days.
You know, so children go, like babies even, go straight into childcare, and then everyone's in schooling, and then from schooling straight into work.
Well, and then
It's like-
borrowing from the future.
Yeah.
So not only is one wage enough for a nuclear family, which is one previous model, you also have to borrow from the future.
Mm.
So there's a negative, isn't there? It's like you know you have to borrow the money, which is obviously borrowing from the future to
Yeah.
make the current family setup work. And this has been a
Yeah.
slow and steady. This is another conspiracy theory, of course.
Mm.
So I say again, inspiracy. We know that's the conspiracy, don't we?
Mm.
What is the inspiracy? You know, what do we breathe into? We can breathe into seeing that is the situation, but what can we create? And my meme for the screen is this one: the world will be destroyed by a lot of good people doing nothing. Now,
Yeah.
that is pretty.
A lot of conspiracy theorists would actually agree with that,
Of
because
course
they
they
would say,
would.
why aren't you doing anything? All the time you don't do anything, this is going to carry on.
Yeah, and it appeals
And
to
yet
the
they're
mind.
looking for a rational external something to occur.
A new government will sort it all
Yeah,
out.
or
A new ideology will sort it all out.
yeah.
And I say no. I say a new ideology, a new government will give us more of the same, different flavor.
Yeah.
And the inspiracy theory is that we be responsible for formulating the direction of travel and the kind of results and vision we want.
Yeah. So we do it internally. We internalize.
But the truth is
where we're going.
So this popularization of the truth is out there, which is the conspiracy theory motto almost, isn't it? Is actually the truth
truth is
was
in
always
here.
in here. The truth is
Yeah.
everywhere, isn't it? I mean, if God is and life and love are everywhere, so is the truth. And our balance perhaps might become more inward in the appreciation of what is true and what works. I mean, by what is true, I mean what works for people, what really truly works for people is a pretty good indication, isn't it? What makes us lighter rather than heavier. And so much of what we see in the conspiracy theory world, and again, you know, I don't want this to become, you know, because I'm a part of that. I'm not separating myself from it. I just want to get the balance right. But so much of what we see in the conspiracy theory world is very negative and very dark and makes us feel heavy. I don't want to end up like David Icke.
I don't
Is
think
what
you're
I'm
going
saying.
to.
And you know, as much as I've interviewed him and appreciate him in some strange way, he doesn't strike me as a free, especially healthy person.
Yeah, well, I think what's missing there is, I mean, I've read some of his books and I've seen him talk and stuff. What's missing is, like, we get the truth, but we don't get the context.
Yes, well
Like
said.
we get the truth from his perspective, and I have no doubt that what he's speaking of carries some truth. My own experience bears that out, and yet there's no, from what I've seen from my own experience of him, there's not that understanding that comes later, where we can, I don't know, feel hope, feel optimism, and feel that we we have something that we can do ourselves.
Yes, rabbit
That
holes. I mean,
we
rabbits,
can empower ourselves. You know, it's
yeah.
almost used as a tool to disempower us. I'm sure that's not his intention. Let's hope
No,
not.
and we only get to see part of the picture, and he's got a
Yes.
shtick, he's got a method, hasn't he? And he's among those people in my life who I observe as loving being right. You know, there are people
being happy.
there are people we know who just get so much joy out of being right to some sort of pathological end almost, and certainly socio-pathological end. You know, they're so right. It's really difficult to be in their company, and I think David might be one of those. But I don't know, and I don't mean to single him out or give him a hard time. But what occurred to me is conspiracy theories, rabbit holes. Rabbits live underground for their own protection, don't they? The opening sequence of Watership Down is very beautiful about how God gave the arrogant rabbit the white tail. Ultimately, it's a really lovely little parable. I don't know if is it Richard Adams who wrote that?
I can't remember.
I'm not sure, but Watership Down has a beautiful mythological introduction where the animals are given their different natures. And it's interesting to note that rabbits live underground, don't they? For their own safety, it would appear. And also, they are most beautiful when we see them above ground, where they are, where you don't see the flash of the white tail. They're sat on their haunches or nibbling the grass in the sunshine. And it's the most beautiful thing to see, isn't it? The inspiracy rabbit compared to the conspiracy rabbit who's down his rabbit holes going deeper and deeper for his own safety.
That's very clever.
Above ground.
It's interesting as well. We are just in the year of the rabbit, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Just so you know.
Excellent.
And, you know, that's got the conspiracy channels all ablaze about a month ago.
Rabbit holes.
Because, you know, it's down the rabbit hole, but also follow the white rabbit, which is quite a strong theme and has links to all sorts of unseemly things. But anyway.
Is there a connection between Q drops and rabbit droppings? Some say.
I don't know.
Some
You'll
say.
Have to ask some other people about that. But
nicely done.
Well, I wouldn't want to say, it's not for me to judge, but
I could do with a Q drop right now. My throat is killing me. No, I pod and pock that. My throat is not killing me.
Yeah, your throat.
My throat is my savior, and some might say. Well, I say.
Oh, you'd be so.
I'd be done without it.
Yeah,
and it's a little bit sore. And for some reason, whenever I sit on this side of the desk, there's some. What's the word that Mike and Dee used? The something not anthropological, topological. No, what's the word used when it's psychosomatic?
I can't remember.
Ontological.
Yeah,
there's something ontological going on with my throat at the moment.
It's because you're not in charge of the desk.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
You need to be in this.
You might well be right. Yeah. I can't speak without control and power.
Yeah. So interesting. The conspiracy of death and dying. Then the idea. It's like when we are hidden from things, we don't have as much control over them, or we can't process them. It feels to me like death in the Western world is largely managed for us, and it's a bit of a blind spot for us, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
And also in recent
Dr.
times,
John Campbell, your death was managed for you in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But then again, there we go to the dark side again.
Well, I mean, I think Dr. John Campbell has actually got a lot of important things to say, and what he's sharing now is actually the same stuff that I was hearing 2 years ago.
Well, you're speaking about it as well, to be fair to you.
Yeah. I mean, I was speaking it quite publicly as well.
And you got the full-on tin foil hat. Shut up.
Yeah,
just wear your mask and shut up. Wasn't that interesting that people not only said just put the mask on, and I see people are sending me articles today. Masks useless. You said this all along.
Yeah.
But wasn't that an interesting kind of totem or metaphor? Like, shut up. We don't want to hear this
we don't want you.
And put your mask on. Put your mask on. What? Okay, I'll leave you to it, Mrs. M. I'll
no. Come and sit with me.
Oh, okay.
Because we're gonna have a gong, and I want to chill out.
He's not having it, Mrs. He's not having it.
Right. We've got a 4-year-old.
There, folks, is what an expressed
Yeah.
What one could do is, and I don't mean to sound pretentious or very British, but the one, okay, you, me, I, the one, instead of trying to shut the noise out, instead of going into lots of thoughts about it, how about let everything be as it is, but practice moving your point of view in relation to it,
Yeah.
which is what we've just done, and now you're back.
Yeah. Well, I definitely had to get at one with a giant turd.
Wow. Okay. You can't get more prosaic than that, can
Yeah.
you?
I mean,
Well
and
done.
funnily enough, we were talking about composting and
Humanure. All of life is here.
Yeah. The whole idea that, we are, that we are in this birth and death and whatnot cycle, and also that we are birthing all of our waste. We're letting go of stuff. It's like radical surrender.
I'm guessing it's from
our,
one of the children, not yourself.
Yes, it's nothing to do with me, but thank you
God
for clarifying that. No, one of our youngest, we're potty training our youngest, and he just radically surrendered a turd into his trousers, and so he was very distressed.
Needed help, right? And his brother and sister are unable to help him on this occasion.
Yeah, and that's why he was really upset.
Well, fair enough,
because he feels shame.
Fair enough. We've all been there.
And isn't it interesting?
Some of us longer ago than others.
So I mean, it's really kind of sad to see a tiny one feeling so ashamed.
But you dealt with it, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Quick work.
I know.
You could definitely be my nurse in old age.
Thank you.
If you're as efficient and thorough and taking it in your stride like that.
Yeah,
you missed the chime. You missed the chime. But I'm gonna I might put one on the desk here.
Yeah, so we can also.
Is that sound effect available on the desktop?
Yeah, I downloaded it. So
is it available on this computer? Don't worry if it's not. If you have to think about it, don't worry.
I think I've got it. Let me have a look. You carry on.
Seriously?
While I just have a quick.
Okay. She's just looking up gong at the moment.
I might have.
We don't need to do it now. Doesn't matter. But I like how I think we've sorted out the sound quality now. It was a bit weird and like a strange effect on the podcast on this conversation yesterday. And we think we've sorted that out.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll get the gong ready.
Yeah, don't worry. No, we'll add that. And any other pleasant sound effects. Maybe we should have a didgeridoo. And also a what is it? What are those sticks that you
rain
rain stick? Should we have every possible new age cliche?
Gamelan. We can have the gamelan.
We can, gently being plucked in the background, and who doesn't like to be gently plucked in the background? I don't know what else we could have.
Come on, where's our last thoughts about this conspiracy of death? Is it that we need to face it, look at it?
Well, yeah, I think
just notice what's going on.
It might help us to become a little bit more balanced in our culture, in embracing that reality.
One of the questions I was asking my client today in a reading was, when does grief occur? Like,
when it bloody well wants to, right?
Does grief occur after somebody's died, or does grief bring about the death of somebody? It occurred to me that we might actually get ready to die, like we might start grieving. Maybe
I have got a radical view on this.
Go on. What's your radical view?
Well, grief on the one hand, I think is the sadness of the human being dealing with attachment.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not to diminish it in any way, because it is real and it hurts.
Yeah.
And the more work you can do on your understanding of attachment, perhaps the freer you can be, which is easy for me to say, not finding myself in a position at the moment. And I say this with all due respect to anyone who is in the process of grief or loss at the moment. But what we're dealing with in those times is a challenge to our attachment, our human attachment. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what I think it is. And I think what grief is when you're where you think you've got to with your relationship with that person, thing, experience. Your what you think is going on and what is actually going on. And that is why grief, I think, is a transferable experience across all areas of human life. It is the radical honesty of life talking to you compared to your personal worldview. So the radical honesty of life is, I take everything and everyone.
Yeah.
I birth you all, I take you all. That's the radical honesty of
Yeah.
life, isn't it? And all of us are going to die in that way. And then on a personal level, is I don't want you to take my loved ones or myself.
So it's like the fight with life itself.
It is, and I think grief is to do with where we get caught by surprise.
Yeah.
And that's why it is so sudden sometimes. That you on the one hand, for men particularly, it's like I can manage this, and then the strangest thing might trigger the grief and just suddenly put you in a massive spin and have you crying.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you could manage it rationally. On another hand, you've lost it.
Yeah.
You've lost it. We've got to go, haven't we? That's our 30 minutes. And I need to go have lunch.
Oh, yes. On Valentine's Day, you're off to have dinner with another man.
I am. It's so true.
How very continental of you.
I'm going to kiss him on both cheeks when I see him.
Are you? Which cheeks?
Oh, dear. I'm going to stay at the business end. No, that doesn't sound right either, does it?
So sorry to laugh so much, but I think there's more things to add to this conversation another time.
I agree. Well, it's ongoing, isn't it? 30 minutes. We'll meet in time and space again for 30 minutes, and in this space, which might even have its own website one day, mightn't it?
Who knows? Let's see how it goes.
I don't know. We're on Spotify. We're on Spreaker. If you look up the Inspiracy Theory podcast, you'll find us that way. And of course, which YouTube channel?
Louisa Munson.
Excellent stuff.
Lots of love to you. Have a great day. Bye for now.
For now.